1/3 of American adults right now are trying to eliminate gluten from the diet. This trend is getting out of control and people are really doing it often without even doing their own research and even really understanding the reasons behind this elimination. They're just doing whatever their friends, their neighbors or their family members are doing, and often they get amazing results. But that might not be because of eliminating gluten or wheat. That just might be because of eliminating processed stuff. Hi guys, today I would like to talk to you about gluten. Some of you might already know that I've been following a gluten-free challenge for 60 days and I completed it successfully very recently. And so today I really wanted just to share with you my findings, my results of the challenge, and also to elaborate more on why I think people think that they have problems with gluten, and also my 7 tips on how you can become friends with gluten-containing foods. So let's jump right into it. A while ago I wrote a blog post, and I'll link to it in the description box, about why I wanted to try the gluten-free challenge and why I thought I was having problems with either gluten or just wheat. And I really wanted to see whether I was sensitive to it. And that was because I was fine when I was making my sourdough rye bread, but when rye ran out and I bought some whole wheat, that's when I started having sneezing and blocked nose, runny nose in the mornings, and just really weird allergy symptoms, and I couldn't understand why. So that's really what inspired my challenge. Here's the result. I'm not sensitive to gluten or wheat whatsoever. There's one but there though. I'm not sensitive to organic whole wheat or whole grain products, but that doesn't apply to simple supermarket products which are not organic, and they can be contaminated with a lot of chemicals, but I'm going to talk more about that a bit later. So once I reintroduced whole wheat and rye and barley and all of my favorite gluten-containing foods, I had absolutely no bad symptoms, nothing at all. And after digging around, reading a lot of books and doing a lot of research, I understand that wheat and gluten might be blamed for a lot of things that might not even be the fault. It's just trendy at the moment to be gluten-free or wheat-free and to blame everything on it, but it's not always the case. You always need to look at your own individual body and to really see if it works or doesn't work for you. So the gluten-free market is a very lucrative and huge market and makes so much money for so many different businesses. If you go to any health shop, and recently even every single supermarket, you'll find shelves and shelves and shelves of gluten-free products. It's become so incredibly trendy. The problem is that a lot of these gluten-free products are actually more or less junk foods, and they're much worse than whole wheat or any kind of healthy gluten-containing grain. If you buy things like white rice flour or corn flour, they will definitely spike up your blood sugar, so much more than wheat, and you might have much more problems from them. It's just not always black and white. You really have to look at every single individual ingredient and think if it's actually really better for your health. Now, gluten-free or wheat-free has also become so incredibly trendy, just like being fat-free was so trendy just 10 years ago. Even 5 years ago, people were so proud of buying 0% Greek yogurt and things like that. But now most of us finally know that fat is not the enemy. It's probably something else, maybe sugar, maybe refined foods. I mean, not maybe, definitely. But fat has been excused from all these problems. It seems now like gluten is becoming that monster in everybody's minds. People love following trends and they love following the herd, but you really have to think with your own mind and don't just follow the herd. You have to do your own research and do your own experimentation with your body and see if wheat or gluten really causes troubles, or if it's something else that's causing you troubles and you're just blaming gluten or wheat. Of course there is celiac disease, which is a very serious disease, and if you have it then you really need to stay away from gluten in everything, even in your skincare and shampoos. But celiac disease is so rare, less than 1% of the population. So if there's a very small chance that you have it. If you suspect that you have it, of course, you should have tests to, there are blood tests and other methods to find out if you have it. But as I said, there's much more chance that you don't have it, and you might just be sensitive to something else. So first of all, most of the gluten foods that we consume are usually wheat. And if it's wheat, it's mostly processed white flour. And there's no doubt that it's going to cause problems if you consume a lot of it. It's processed, it doesn't have any nutrition in it, it really spikes up the blood sugar, and it's really not difficult to see why it would cause incredible problems. Another reason why is that most of the wheat that people consume is from the supermarket. It's not organic, it's just regular thing, and most of the wheat in the world, and something like 99% in the US, is sprayed with Roundup just 3 days before harvesting to make it easier and to have a bigger harvest. When I read it, I just could not believe it. And I thought that Europe was exempt, you know, come on, of course Europe is going to have much better laws and much better controls, but apparently it's not. And even in places like Italy, which I thought would never do that. Wheat itself might not be the problem, it might just be the chemicals such as Roundup in the conventional wheat products or rye or barley products that you buy from the supermarket. Another reason why people think that they might have problems with gluten or wheat is because those kind of foods are often consumed together with other potentially problematic foods such as dairy and sugar. And especially when you mix them all into one food and consume them together, it can really be quite an explosive food problem for somebody with digestive problems. So if you eat that kind of stuff all the time, then it's easy to think, oh, I might be gluten intolerant, and you would put all the blame on gluten. But the thing is, it might be dairy. A lot of people are dairy intolerant. It might be the sugar, which is overfeeding the bad guys in your gut. So you really have to go deeper into this and experiment more with all the other factors before you start blaming gluten for absolutely everything, all the bad things that are happening in your life. Another reason why people have problems with gluten is because so many of us, including me in the past, and even now a little bit, have problems with bad gut flora. And you know, we do things like consuming a lot of antibiotics and using the birth control pills and using all kinds of prescription drugs, and also eating a lot of refined flour and sugars that feed all the bad guys. So we do so many different things that can throw that gut flora out of balance. And when that happens, we start having a lot of food intolerances and sensitivities and allergies. That's when wheat can start causing problems. And of course, the way to go is just to try and fix your gut flora. And we'll talk about how to do it a bit later. And finally, another reason why people could be having with wheat, especially wheat, is because wheat is the most popular grain in the world, and it's very, very commercialized and has been hybridized heavily in the last 30-40 years, and some people might really be having problems with the highly hybridized modern wheat. So in that case, it might be better to use ancient wheat such as einkorn or spelt or kamut wheat, things like that, and see if that helps. As I said again, it might not be the gluten, it might just be the modern wheat that's causing you problems. So now that we talked about the reasons why you might think you're having problems with wheat or gluten, now it's time to share with you my 7 tips on how you can become friends with wheat and gluten-containing grains in general.